Okay.
The snails in my
This is
ears are
amazing.
telling me the Lord's truth.
Soup? Soup? Seriously? Soup.
Snails in my ears. Oh,
Your little, what are they
gosh.
called? Your little, you got the little
ear.
snail things in your ears.
Me?
Yeah, everybody does. They're little,
What?
they're like snail shaped.
Oh, like the cochlear
yeah,
or something?
your yeah,
I
the
am
cochlear part of your ear.
Staying away from that word. Okay. It's like a little
Snails
shell.
in my ears translate the words that I hear. Sometimes I start a sentence and don't even know where it's going. I just hope I find it along the way.
Oh my gosh, I love that. And I relate heavily. Well, welcome to Good Soup.
Welcome back, everybody.
Back at it again.
Did we record any of that part that for intros?
Yes, we did.
Okay. Anyway, I was telling a life parable about when I got pulled over.
Oh, yes.
At 4:45 in the morning, and how miserable that experience was.
4:45.
Because I'm driving to the gym, and the cop is coming the opposite direction, and he just whips a Yui and like turns his lights on and whips a Yui, and I'm like, oh my god. And a life update for the people: I've had more traffic infractions, whatever the word is, in the past 6 months than I ever have in my entire life.
Really?
I got my first ever speeding ticket in October.
What? I didn't know about that.
Probably because I was ashamed.
Aw,
But I
okay.
got my first ever speeding ticket in October, and then I rear-ended someone last week, and I've told my husband, like, I am officially remanding my moderate driver card. I've never called myself a good driver because I'm not a proud person.
Yeah.
I have no pride in my body.
Hey.
No, I'm just kidding. But I was like, I'm an okay driver. I'm a good rule follower, which is still true.
Yeah.
But I am officially labeling myself a poor driver, which doesn't feel good. But the evidence has pointed me to otherwise. I got a speeding ticket and I just rear-ended somebody. And so that happened last week. And so yesterday, when this cop pulls a Yui and his lights are on, I am about to cry, honestly.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm
yeah.
like,
Every time.
This is just the worst.
Yeah.
And then he was like, your light is out. And I was like, oh, okay. And then
Like headlight?
yeah, my headlight
Okay.
and a taillight. Both. Had one of both out.
Okay.
And he, goes away for a minute and comes back and is like, get that fixed. Have a good night.
Yeah.
And I also thought it was weird that he told me to have a good night because it's morning.
Maybe
but
he's working the night shift.
Maybe.
And he's
like
like
maybe
getting
this
ready
is
to go
night
to bed.
to everybody
Yeah.
else. But I was like, okay. And guess what? This is the parable part.
Okay.
Like I said, I rear-ended someone last week.
Okay.
Got pulled over on the way to the gym this week. Made it to work on time when I rear-ended somebody because I was on the way to work.
Okay.
And I made it to the gym on time when I got pulled over. Leave early, everybody. Make sure to give yourself ample time to get to your destination. I had traffic infractions twice this past week, and I still made it to work and the gym on time.
Believe that.
Yeah. Clocked in at 8 a.m., walked in the gym at 5 a.m.
So what does it say about me if I'm the type of person that leaves absolutely no time, no like cushion of time? In fact, I actually falsely believe I have more time than I do. And then it's like, oh, something happened to me on the way to my destination. I guess I was never supposed to be there.
It's just the universe shaking itself out.
Yeah, it's like, okay.
What is your traffic record like? How often do you get like detained or delayed?
Delayed? because of traffic infractions,
Yes.
whatever the word is. Not often. I mean, I got pulled over. I think I had my license for like a week. And I was late meeting some friends at dinner that night or something, and I was going about 70 in a 55.
Okay.
But it was like country roads, so
Sure.
there's like never cops around, and it just so happened that when I cleared this teeny tiny little hill, I just zoomed right past a cop, and he pulled me over, and I was crying because it's honestly just,
especially if you're a teenager,
physiological response.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't even stop myself from crying. From crying. So
Yeah.
he pulls me over, and he's like, "Do you know how fast you're going?" And I was like, "Yeah, probably not. Like, probably pretty fast." And he's like, "Yeah, like 70 and 50." And I literally had just got my license like the week before that or something.
Yeah.
So I just got a warning, which was very nice of him. And then I think the last time I got pulled over was actually here in Nashville. I had just moved here like a couple months prior, and I was going somewhere to work. And my boss would like normally call me in the mornings, and I would have to talk to her on the phone. And I didn't know that Tennessee was like a hands-free state. And I was holding my phone like on my chest, talking on speakerphone. And this cop had stopped someone else, and I was like getting on this on-ramp, and he was like stopped on the overpass, and somehow he saw me from like when he was stopping this other person. He saw me like merging onto the highway with my phone in my hand on my chest, and he stopped me, and that was like an $80 or $90 ticket.
Ooh.
And so now I don't do it anymore.
Good.
Like,
that's a bummer.
I mean, I do it sometimes, but I'm just like much more careful.
That's what like really is like, I am being honest with myself about not being a good driver, but my husband speeds. The reason I got a speeding ticket was because I was driving in somewhere that was unfamiliar to me, and my GPS told me a different speeding, like a different speed than was the actual like zone. And apparently, I learned this afterwards, but apparently that county has like the highest output of speeding tickets. Like, they're just really sticklers about it, and they sit on this road because I was leaving a wedding, and they sit on the road outside the venue to catch drunk drivers as they're leaving this wedding venue. And so like, not that it wasn't my fault, because I was like going 20 over, but I was set up for failure. It was not like a regular practice for me, because I am very passionate about driving the speed limit. I'm also very passionate about not using my phone, and not to throw suspicion or shame on anyone that I live with and am maybe married to. But some of us use our phones while they are driving, and never gets in trouble, never gets a ticket. And he's like, "I'm such a good driver," and I'm like, I have to label myself a bad driver because of these two things that it just made me. Anyway, I'm just annoyed because he doesn't have any speeding tickets, and he goes down this road at like 50, the road outside my house. I'm talking to this person like there's no person. For context, our neighborhood is like 25-30, like a normal neighborhood, and he's going like 45-50.
I know.
And I'm like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "I'm getting somewhere faster than." Anyway, that's how my husband talks. Anyway,
it is very interesting, because I feel like.
Do you remember? Sorry.
No, what?
Do you remember that one time that we were going to meet for Chinese food with a friend, and your hood popped up and smashed into your windshield? I think about that and how scary that must be, and how I would it would ruin my life if that happened. And you've had that happen to you twice. I just think that you just have a quality of strength about you that I just simply do not possess.
It's almost, honestly, I feel like at that point it's almost like exposure therapy. Like
and you've had a wheel fall off, haven't you?
No. Oh
no, that was your dad.
That was my dad
driving your car, though. Or was just driving a car?
Yeah, I think it was my sister's.
Was it the Bug?
Yeah, it was my sister's Bug. He was driving.
All the stories are merging together.
We do have a lot of like hoopty stories, but the first time it happened, thankfully, I was on like a pretty open country road again. So where I lived in Ohio, the roads aren't super busy like anywhere, and there's a lot of like 2-lane country highways. And most of the time, they're not super busy. So what had happened was I had been having issues with the hood of my car, and I was at the gas station, and this guy on a motorcycle his battery died, and so he was kind of just like asking, like, does anyone have jumper cables or whatever, and I did. So I jumped his bike at the gas station, and then he shut my hood. And I even remember
I know you're just trying to like emphasize what's happened. It sounded like you were trying to like wink about something that happened. Like,
yeah, no, that's not
my hood.
Nothing
unsavory
happened there. That was literally
he just did it.
He did it. And I had a thought to myself. I said I should probably double check it because I knew it was being finicky, and I just let him close it, and I just drove away. And I was like I had that like little twinge of like I should probably check it, but then I was like it'll probably be fine. So I'm driving through town, and like max speed I get up to is like 40 miles an hour or something. And then I was going home, so I get out of town and I'm getting on this 2-lane country highway, and the speed limit gets up to like 55, 60, 65, whatever. And so as soon as I hit like 55, 60 miles an hour, the hood just like it all happened so fast. It was one of those moments where you don't know what, because the sound was so loud. Honestly, I was kind of like, did a bomb just go off? Did my tire just like blow up? Like, it was crazy. So it's like the noise is so loud and disorienting. And then I have the realization of like, I can't see jack squat because the hood is literally just laying on top of my windshield.
And I'm barreling in a death machine
like 55 miles an hour. And so it's like, I made sure I checked behind me to see if anyone was behind me, and I just kind of slowed down and I just pulled over. And I was like kind of shaky, and there was like pieces of the windshield in my lap and in my hair, because it just cracked it pretty good. Like, there wasn't a hole in it or anything, but I don't know if like you've ever had a window shield or a windshield crack. Like, it doesn't shatter like glass. It is kind of like a almost like a plasticky kind of like webby type of thing. So,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so like it does throw off like sharp like pieces of glass, but like the thing is like designed to like withstand some type of impact. So like it kind of stays together, but like it cracks and like you can see all the things in it. So anyway, there was this person driving from the other way, and they stopped and they were like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah." So then basically what ended up happening was I just pulled the hood down, and then I just drove really slow to like the nearby car shop or whatever. And then we just figured out that we had to do this like really janky thing where we had to like pump the little hood latch with like a screwdriver before you put it down, and then like make sure it latches and all that stuff. And I was like, I'm never driving that car again, And my dad's like, no, like it's fine. Like we figured it out and it's fine. So I got a different car after that, like not because of that, but just like, life and stuff. Sure. And that car was getting old anyway. So I got a new car, but the thing with this car is it's the exact same car that I had before. It's just a different make and model. So the car I had before was a Pontiac Vibe, and then the car I got was a Toyota Matrix, but like same everything. They just have a different name on them type of thing. So the same thing then was happening with this new car, the Matrix. Like the hood was being finicky or whatever. And that day you and I were going to meet for Chinese New Year, actually. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, okay, I'll see you there. And if you live around Nashville, there's basically just like 4-lane highways to get around the city. Yeah. So anywhere you go, you have to like jump on, even if it's for just a couple miles, you have to jump on like a 4-lane highway. And usually you have to like scream across the 4 lanes to get from like one side to the other.
To exit on off the other side.
To get where you're going. So I was getting on one of those quick kind of like highway things. And again, same thing. I got up to like 55, 60, and the hood just came back and smashed my windshield. And that was much, much, much scarier because of how busy the road was and everything. But I was really glad I had it happen before, because then I kind of like
I think I was more freaked out than you were. Just you calling me and telling me what had happened, and I was like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, because the sound was.
I am so good under pressure and emergency situations.
The sound was still so jarring, but immediately it was kind of like, "Oh, this again," type of thing. And I remember like just peeking out down through, because you know how like your hood at the very top, like where it meets right before it, like your windshield, it kind of like curves a little bit. When your hood is up, you can see like a little bit through that
Life
like
hack.
little crescent. Yeah. If you ever have this happen to you. So I just like kind of peeked down in there, that little slit, and just pulled over and called like Nashville Highway Assistance or something. I actually called the police because I didn't know what to do. I was like, I am sitting on the side of the road. There are cars zooming by me. Like, what do I do? And they're like, okay, we'll send somebody. And then the guy like rigged up my my hood with this like wire so it would stay shut, but it wasn't latched. And I actually drove it around like that.
I remember. There's like the like colored wire like wrapped in the whole grill of your car.
Yeah, I don't remember if that was because I couldn't get my hood fixed right away, because I did get my windshield fixed like the same day. So I don't remember why I was driving around with that like janky setup, but yeah, anyway,
I don't know.
That's probably like one of the scariest like car road situations I've ever been in.
Yeah,
twice. But definitely more scary the second time.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's crazy.
But yeah.
Anyway, it's been a second since we've filmed or recorded the podcast.
When was our last episode even?
Like maybe in November? Or September? Was it September?
I kind of think it was September.
Also, thank you. Shout out to the people who we made their top podcasts of the year. What an honor. What an honor.
For real, though.
September. Oh my gosh. That's crazy.
I love how we were like back for season 2.
And I'm pretty sure that was the one that we were talking about being back for season 2. And it just didn't happen.
Did we do like one episode or did we get 2 out? And
I think we might have just done one.
Just one. Okay.
I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, man.
But
life
has happened.
We had really good intentions, but
we have lived since then.
So much life. So much life since then. Okay, so what are like some of your highlights since September that you want to share with the podcast?
Do you remember when I first met September? So yeah, for me, I actually started a new job, which is part of the, not like a huge part of the delay, but it was definitely because I didn't start till November, so there's a.
It was definitely
we just had a lot
major contributing factor, because I think anyone knows when you start a new job, it's just that's kind of
so I went from babysitting like 10 hours a week and being a full-time student to being a full-time office worker. Crazy. So that's definitely a lifestyle change for sure. But I'm loving it. It's going really well. Yay. And I'm kind of back into the swing of juggling everything together. So we're excited to mix the podcast back in.
I know.
As needed or as wanted. Because this is like really just for us to have fun. So I think we took a break when we needed it, and we'll put out episodes when we're able to and when we want to. And
I think we both kind of like the idea of like structure and having like a rhythm to it, but in reality, like at the end of the day, it is something that we just want to do for fun. And so I think we just tried to take some of the pressure off of like, it's not like we're trying to get out this like really clean professional podcast type thing that we're trying to like live off of. Like we're not trying to make it our job or anything. So
I know you guys are just, like chomping at the bit to pay us to do this.
Exactly.
But we're not in it for the money. We're in it for the artistry.
We're looking at you, Angie.
Anyway, do you have any updates?
Well, I turned 30
whoop, whoop.
Since the last podcast.
Sorry,
She's just giving me like a really hard wink. That was funny.
Well, by the time this podcast comes out, I think.
Well,
I guess
either the
right
song,
before.
Yeah, I think so. I
official promo.
Yes, official promo.
Call Me Chris.
Call Me Chris is coming out with a new song at the end of this month. It'll release on January 30th.
Woo-hoo!
And it's a song about turning 30. So I was thinking about, because a lot of people started asking me how it felt like right before I was turning 30. They're like, oh, how are you feeling about it? You know, because it's like a big one. And I think a lot of the times 30 is portrayed as this like really big, scary number where you're supposed to have all of these things done in your life, or it's kind of, I think for a lot of people, it's this arbitrary like downhill thing. It's like, oh, I made it to 30, and so like I've obviously peaked because of the number of my age, and now everything from here on out is just gonna get worse. And I've actually been in therapy for pretty much a year now, and I've been learning a lot there, and I just feel like I've been getting to like more of like a more healthy part of my life, and it just happened to coincide with me like turning 30. And so I started thinking about like, what if, you know, we celebrated like getting older, and just like, what if turning 30 could be fun, or like just turning, really, like the song is about turning 30, but really it's like any age you're getting older. It's like, I would hope that people could listen to it and just be like, oh yeah, like I'm turning 35 or 40 or 50 or 80 or whatever. And it's like I can, like, I still have life to live, basically. So, and then as I was thinking about it, I just, of course, the like iconic 30, flirty and thriving quote from 13 Going on 30 popped in my head. And I just thought a little bit of my like strategic side was like, this would be probably a really good title to catch the eye of people who are actually turning 30 now and have turned 30 in the last year or two and will in the next year or two, like, because that movie is like pretty quintessential with my generation. So so I just kind of mapped it out after like some of these really bubblegummy pop songs, and I wanted it to feel like Princess Diaries with like Legally Blonde, with 13 Going on 30, with Lizzie McGuire, like just that like really sparkly like Disney girl.
It's very pink glitter.
Yes, yeah, which is funny because I always am like, I don't like pink,
which is not your like that's not your aesthetic, really.
Which is funny because I feel like, I don't know, I feel like the last couple songs I've really done, like they just kind of do end up sounding more bubblegummy pop for some reason.
It's
but
like your musical vibe.
Yeah, it's
secretly,
I don't know,
on the inside.
Right. I'm still trying to figure out what that even is for me, but yeah, so the song comes out on the 30th, so it'll either come out like just shortly after or just shortly before this podcast drops. So
yeah. So if you're listening to this, either pre-save or go listen.
Go stream it. Go stream it up. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So so that was something else that happened since our last podcast. And then two other big things for me was I got a dog.
Woo! And
I ran a half marathon at Disney World.
Dang.
But you and I were talking about maybe doing the princess marathon at some point.
Yeah, so it is like a big bucket list item for me to do the princess half someday, eventually, when my body is able to carry me 13.1 miles. But we're getting there. We're slowly getting there. And so that would be a good goal for next year. But speaking of goals, it is a new year.
Yeah.
2025. Do you have any goals for this year? Obviously, starting off the year strong with the half marathon and a song coming out. So I think you're probably good, but
good for the whole year.
Yeah.
No, that's actually what I'm trying not to do, because I could see a universe where I'm like, I've done like so much, and then I just like coast the rest of the year. Actually, I've been thinking about that, and I didn't really set any really specific goals, but I did do the thing this year where I asked God if he had a word for me, because I know that's kind of a thing that people do a lot, and they'll say like, it's just you know.
Why do you gotta be so begrudging about it? You're
know.
so like, it's like she just like sucked on a lemon or something. Like even as she's saying it, she's like, ugh, why do I have to be one of those people
Seriously,
that talks to God about stuff? Oh my
gosh,
God.
Seriously. Okay. No, I do really need to stop doing that. Because it's like, it is just part of my life and I need to stop being weird about it.
Yeah. Stop being weird.
Honestly though. And it's like, I don't, like, who am I thinking of? Who am I caring that I might offend with? I don't know.
Oh my God, I just feel like God spoke to me. I know that's super dumb, but like, I don't know. Some people do it. I guess true. I just did it one time.
Oh gosh. Okay. Anyway, yes. So I was like, no pressure or anything.
No pressure, God.
No pressure. Because really, I didn't want to be like so fixated on it that like I would just make up my own word and be like, God said this to me.
That's always a fear. Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? Like if there is a word, then that would be cool. If not, that's cool too. And I just felt like the word graduate kept, which I think I've talked about before.
I don't think on the pod though.
Maybe not on the podcast, but
to me personally,
yes,
in my ears.
For your ears only.
I believe it was a shower thought
that I shared with you after
the shower.
We weren't, yeah.
Sorry, I thought that was obvious.
But we're friends and just casually. No.
We're not even gonna put names to that.
No, we're not.
No.
Did you ever do that with your friends and like
shower together?
No, but like with swimsuits on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that weird?
Not when you're little.
Like, I mean, like junior high.
No.
That's weird. Are you saying that's okay?
Like past, like to the point of puberty is probably weird.
Right. Like, yeah. Okay. I'm just gonna button that up. So anyway,
I mean, it's not weird if you didn't feel weird about it. Looking back, it might be like, would you let your 13-year-olds shower together, like
with swimsuits on? Maybe if it was like a situation that was like made sense, but
like an outdoor shower when you're coming off the beach.
Yeah, like oh, sure. we're all camping. We all need to go shower. Let's not go alone. Take your swims, like type of. This is a waste of time. Okay. Anyway.
Literally. Okay. Side note though.
Okay.
It was so funny. I was listening to music in the car one time and like the saddest song played. I forget what song it was, but it was like a really, really sad song. I think it was Love of My Life or LOML by Taylor Swift.
Oh, okay.
Which is like at the end she goes, "You're the loss of my life," and it's like so sad and piano, and it's like finishing, and I'm just like so sad. I'm like, oh my God, this song is so sad. And then my phone's on shuffle, and so it's like da, na, na, na. Piano fades out, and I'm like, oh God. Anyway, it's bad bitch o'clock. Yes, it's thick 30. Just like I was like, I don't know that I've ever felt so represented by a shuffled duo. Seriously? I'm like just so sad that it's like. Anyway,
like enough of that.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Actually, though,
that's
sorry.
So good.
Finish your story.
Anyway, so yeah, I just felt like the word was graduate, and I feel like. There's just a lot of things in my life where I know them and I feel like I've kind of been in the same place in a lot of ways, and I don't know, I just feel like in order to graduate, like you have to do the work, right? Like with music and with my own life and just like my interpersonal emotions and self-talk and a lot of that stuff. It's like a lot of these things I know, it's like I know I should do this, or I know if I chose to eat this instead of that, like it would get me closer to my goals. But there's like this weird thing, that kind of rebellious thing we've talked about before, where just like, no, I'm not gonna do it, I'm not gonna do it.
Your rebellious inner child is British.
Yeah. But I think graduating is kind of this idea of, okay, this is what I've done for a while now, but if I if I want to be any different or go anywhere different, like I just have to make different choices. And it feels really simple and it feels really like grade school, but I'm 30
no pun
and it's
intended.
still right. Yeah. But I'm 30 and like I still have trouble with these like really simple changes or these really simple things. And so I just have had this thought a lot lately where it's like, why do I try so hard to do nothing with my day?
Sorry, my Finch is just like,
no, it's fine,
bothering me so much. She's like, feed me, take care of me. How was your day? Mine was great. I'm like, shut up. I'm trying
That's
to record
why
my
I don't
podcast.
I don't turn any notifications on for anything, hardly.
You don't
Somehow
turn them on.
I
You have to turn them off, and I don't know why.
Oh, well, you know.
I just haven't done it.
Anyway,
I'm
no,
so
you're
sorry.
fine. Why is the goal of my day to like sit and watch TV and do nothing?
Mm-hmm. Did you want me to answer?
That's just like a question I've been asking myself of like, why, why do I try so hard
to make as much margin as possible?
Yes,
to
sit
and do nothing.
Yeah. Because even though I like doing that, there is a certain point it gets to where it's like too much and I feel aimless and I feel like I'm not completing any sort of purpose type of thing. And so it's like, okay, well, if you don't, like, I think innately I am the type of person where I'm just like more, you know, like I want to be cozy and I want to be comfy.
I'm not like a Zumo
Wow.
woundo. I'm more like a way around all day.
Exactly. It's like I think innately I'm not like this like super hard driven person.
I don't think either of us are the type of person that has to be doing something all the time.
Right.
Which I think is like a cultural, like, at least on the internet, it seems like a lot of women are that way, where it's like, raise your hand if you can't sit still for 5 minutes or if you have to be doing something productive all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, could not relate less
right.
to anything.
Yeah, right. I'm like, not me.
No.
I have become more that way as I've gotten older, but I think it's just because of like the copious amount of time that I've spent not doing much of anything. Then it's like, okay, that doesn't feel good either. So I think I'm just trying to find like this balance of what does it look like for me personally to be like driven and get things done, but also kind of honor like who I am as a person and not just totally negate that I was created to operate at a certain speed. And it's okay to like push yourself past that point, and it's okay to grow, and like those are good things, but to just kind of berate yourself and like be disappointed in how you were created doesn't do me any favors.
Right.
And I think it actually makes it worse. It makes the issues worse. So and I think that like that too is like, I think part of graduating is like part of how you talk to yourself, and like realizing how you're talking to yourself isn't working, and like being willing to try different things. Like being more kind to myself has yielded way more positive results than I ever would have given a thought that it would. But that's just how it has been effective for me. But yeah, I haven't really made any like I said, any like metric goals or things with like, I want to do this by this date and stuff. It's kind of a general like, I just want to do more healthy things that are good for me, and we'll see how that goes.
Love
so
that.
Yeah, what about you?
Same kind of. Imagine if I just stopped there. I was just like, same. Cool. No, some years my tendency is to want to like be really ambitious and make a lot of lists, but historically I have not been good at follow through. I'm a big planner like on the front end and not a good follow through person, which is something I'm trying to work on. So I have an itch that I like to like make a list and have like my goals that I'm trying to go after and my whole journal spread for every new year and that kind of thing. But some years that's just not the thing. And I feel like I'm getting more comfortable with that, like in my adulthood, because there's part of me that feels like if I don't do that, then I won't have any direction or vision for the new year or for this next phase of my life. And there's a couple things that I feel like have been pertinent to me coming into the new year is that it's okay for your life seasons to not really line up with the calendar year, which sounds kind of like silly, but like I'm not in a place where I'm starting over or starting fresh. I'm like in the middle of building consistency, and I'm in the middle of accomplishing goals that I've already set for myself. And I don't really feel the need to set new goals, like, because I'm kind of working on a set of goals right now that have been goals for a long time, and I'm not starting over. Like, I'm not starting fresh. Like, I am currently in the midst, which has been, again, historically not a place that I've been able to get to, because I love a fresh start. I love the beginning of stuff.
Right.
I love day one. Gosh, I like love a day one.
Yeah.
And that's just not where I'm at right now, which is to me really good progress, because like I said,
honestly,
I've never been good at getting past day one. But I definitely feel a lot of carryover from like my New Year's goals. Like last year was very much a New Year planning. Here's my vision for the year. Here's what I feel like God is saying to me for the beginning of the year, like my word and stuff like that. And I feel very much that is still where I'm at. And I honestly kind of felt that, like, prophetic. I'm a girl. But I felt that when I was setting those goals last year, I felt like that because I in advance was like, oh, God's going to do this year. And then next year, I had this whole, like, this is going to sound kind of like that hokey thing that we roll our eyes at. But again, I'm trying to get over that hokey. Like, I am religious, I am spiritual, and this is stuff that is pertaining to my life. But I have been kind of in like a theme in my life for the last several years where I feel like God is using a lot of like garden and like field imagery. I'm a very like image conscious, not conscious, what's the word I'm trying to say? Like, I feel like a lot of the spiritual words and stuff, like I'm a very visual person, and a lot of times like I personally feel like God speaks to me through visuals and through pictures. And a lot of the pictures I have gotten through the last several years have been like fields and gardening, and I felt like there was a set of years, I think it was at least 2 where I felt like God was really plowing the ground, and I felt like there was hard, like cracked, dry, disgusting ground that God was really like digging into and turning over. And I felt like that was like the theme for a couple years. And then I felt like last year, I felt like God was really like, all right, now is the time that and then I felt like there was like a planting year, maybe. I wrote it down in my journal. I don't have it all.
I remember that.
Then I feel like there was a year in between that was more like planting seeds. And then I felt like this past year, 2024, has been about tending the garden and walking through the garden, being vigilant about weeding and sort of stewarding over whatever's growing in my garden. And then I was like, okay, cool. And to follow through with that, next year, 2025, God's going to give me the harvest. It's going to be my harvest year. And it's going to be like, great. And I felt even then that God was like, it's not going to be like, oh, January 1st, it's harvest time, baby. Like, I felt like it was going to be like a good amount of carryover into the coming year of I'm still very much pacing up and down the rows of my life, trying to weed stuff and grow stuff and keep stuff from dying. So I know that's a little convoluted, but that's kind of where I'm at. And I'm not super like this is a little off topic, but it folds in. There's this girl I follow on Instagram who does like weight loss stuff and like fitness coaching. And she had said something. She was like, it's time to evolve into the version of yourself that doesn't need to start fresh every January. And I felt like that really hit home for me because, like I said, I feel like my younger self depended on, in kind of a weird, like psychopathic way, honestly, like needing to start fresh and kind of being like, all right, I'll start fresh tomorrow. I'll start fresh on the 1st. I'll start fresh on Monday. And like, I couldn't break that loop for so much of my life. And I feel like I'm in a place where I'm not, like, I'm working to not do that and not relying on that as much. And that's really weird for me. But I'm very much like working on growing things in my life. And Like what I've planted is planted, and I'm just like here gardening it all.
Right.
So this year, I mean, I love a new year. I love, you know, a revamp, but I'm kind of in the same place, and I'm feeling pretty okay about that.
Yeah. So. Yeah, that's awesome. I think like nurturing what you already have is new, though, in a sense. You know?
That's true.
Like, because I feel the same way. Like, I feel like I always have been really good at, I've had no trouble, like, picturing or vision casting or, you know, saying this is where I'm going to be here and, like, doing the planning process. But the follow through is just like, where is it? Because as soon as my plan falls through, or as soon as I don't adhere to the plan, it's like, it's all ruined.
It's all ruined.
And then now I have to start a new plan, and here's how it's gonna go. And there's honestly this interesting, like, it might even be just like dopamine hits that I get from,
maybe that's really what it is,
from like the planning process. And it's like, I just need to feel a certain way to tie me over until the next time when I need to, like, you know, kind of give myself another hit of that. Because I mean, I think the instant gratification is like a real problem for me, which is so interesting, because I think before I would have told you, like, I don't have a problem with waiting. Like, I don't have a problem with, I'm a patient person. And I think in some aspects that's true, but in a lot of the other aspects where it kind of, maybe I would argue, matters more, I'm not a patient person. Like, I'm not patient with myself. I'm not patient with my body. I'm not patient with my urges and my desires. Like, I'm not patient with things that are hard. I know I can do hard things, and I know I can have self-control, and I know these things are, like, within my realm of capabilities, but it's like, it does take a certain type of patience to be consistent at it.
Yeah.
And I don't have that.
Well, because you don't get to see results necessarily for a long time, and you have to have that perspective of like, what I do today really does matter for who I'm going to be in 6 months or a year or 10 years or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it also requires, it's funny because it requires that, but it also requires, like, you can't go as hard because you have to be able to keep going for a longer amount of time.
Yeah.
And so it's like, when you're not really planning on, I mean, you are planning on sticking to it, but when you have this day one all or nothing mentality, then there's no room to rest or to scale back any of your efforts, and you're going to sprint all out and then run out of gas and then have to start over. Whereas like, because I think we were talking about, maybe even in the sense, but Angie, if you're listening, hey girl, I'm gonna include you. But my dear friend Angie, we were running a 5K together, and her goal was to just run the whole time. Yeah. And she did. She killed it. And she's a little shorter than me. I'm pretty tall.
She's probably about my height.
Yeah, but so do you want to say your height?
5'4", 5'3" to 5'5".
But there was times, because she would be jogging and I'd be able to just walk next to her. Like, her jog wasn't super fast, but she consistently kept up the whole time. And so, like, there were times when I was able to walk next to her, but she eventually, like, went past me because I was, like, running and then stopping and then running and then stopping. And her consistency, like, she finished way before me because she was able to, like, just keep going and keep going at her own pace. That, like, oh, it's kind of like funny that, like, your friend can walk next to you while you jog, and people kind of, like, make fun of, like, that idea, right? But it's like, that's really, like, the mentality we need to have of, like, I'm gonna run at my pace, and just keep doing that for until I reach my goal, right? Whereas, like, I've always been like, all right, I'm gonna go all out and run a 7 I love how I was gonna say a 7-minute mile, and, like, for real runners that's, like, really bad.
I guess maybe
I think 5-minute mile is, like, fast, like, you know, like, really good.
7-minute mile for me is like, that would be crazy. I would feel like
I'd be
Usain
like
Bolt
running like the wind.
I would be like, put me in the Olympics.
Yes.
I just ran a 7-minute mile.
Anyway, but just like if it's not great immediately, which is just a theme in our friendship, I feel like, that we talk about all the time, is like, if it's not great immediately, we don't want to do it.
I also have noticed this thing in me too, where it's like, if no one's noticing me being great immediately, then I don't, it's like, oh, that must not be right. Like I am such a sucker for that pick me girl type of mentality. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I'm not like other girls.
Thanks, Disney.
All the other girls wore pink dresses to the prom, but I'm gonna wear a blue dress.
Like, do you know how much of my life I've walked around being like when is someone going to pluck me out of obscurity and set me on the track that I know I should be on? My whole life, basically. My whole life. And like, I think that in and of itself is just like, honestly, when I look back on it, I am a little embarrassed because I'm like, wow, like, because I think part of also graduating is, like, you
can hear my husband talking. I'm so sorry.
He's playing video games. Part of graduating for me is like seeing myself realistically. And that's not thinking too much of myself, but it's also not thinking too little of myself. And I think I've lived in this weird world where I have thought so much of myself. Like, I am this girl. I am like the best singer. Like, I should be like, it'll just take this weird, crazy thing where someone hears me humming at a vending machine, and then I'll be like,
I'm laughing, but we've all been there. But
there. Like, I think I still believe that even like a couple of years ago.
No, I get that.
Like, I don't think I want to say that.
Do you want me to?
No, I'll say there have been like probably once at every point in my life, I definitely had a thought of like, oh, I'm here at this specific place for this reason because they're connected in this way. And so I think part of graduating is like, oh, hey, like, I am a beautiful woman, but I'm not like the most beautiful woman. And I don't mean that in a way of like self-deprecating. Like, I'm just being like genuinely, these are the facts. You're like, I am a good singer. I'm not the best singer. I am a kind person. I'm probably not the most kind person. Like, but it's like this thing where I genuinely thought, and especially before I got into a relationship, I was like, man, the person that meets me is going to be like, benevolent, wonderful, sweet, kind girl I've ever met, and she's the most beautiful. Like, literally had this like sickness in my brain where it was like I don't even want someone to think of me that way because it's borderline idling, you know,
like idol worship.
Yeah.
idling,
yeah, you know. And I think that's just, I don't know, like, I just lived in this kind of crazy fantasy world in my head, and it's really honestly hard to pull myself out of that a lot of the times. But I'm saying all of these, I'm saying so many words right now. There was a point to this though, because you were talking about like running your own race, you know, doing your own thing, and I could see very clearly a lot of growth that I've had, because at the half marathon I was in,
just a also quick note, yes. Chris smoked us all at the 5K.
Oh my gosh,
I just wanted to throw that out there.
smoked us all at the 5K.
Amanda smoked us all.
Amanda
but Chris,
smoked us all
you
at the 5K.
You were just like, I watched you disappear off to the horizon. We started together, and then I was like, don't wait for me, like, you go ahead. And I just watched her like disappear, and I'm like, okay.
Oh,
no, it's not your fault. It was just that I'm not fast, and
you know, I'm really not that fast either. It's you know,
you've trained a lot more than anyway. I just wanted to mention because you were also there, and you were also running very fast.
Oh, thank you. Well,
at the half.
Yes, at the half marathon, I was in the very last wave of the very last group, which means you're in the slowest, you know, slowest pace part of the race. And the balloon ladies, if you know anything about Disney marathons or don't, basically they have these two ladies that have balloons tied to them so you can see them from if you're near the back. And they are the last line of defense of like, this is the pace you have to keep if you want to finish. If you cannot keep up with them, then they will escort you off the course and take you back to wherever, because they have a business to run and they have to open the parks and do all that. So if you're not keeping at least like a 16-minute mile pace, then they will pick you up and take you away. So, which I was honestly pretty scared of, because I thought that actually would maybe be a reality for me, because I trained up to like 6 or 7 miles and then I didn't run basically anymore after that for like 2 months, a month and a half before this race. So I was like, really kind of thought I may get, overwhelmed by the balloon ladies and I may not finish this race. So when my mom and I ran the full marathon 5 years ago, I just remember getting done with the marathon and feeling like I didn't accomplish anything, because I didn't do it in like a certain amount of time and I didn't train as much as I wanted to. And I just felt like I could have done so much better than I did. And instead of just kind of giving myself the credit of just doing the thing, I just felt like, well, it didn't really count because XYZ. So this time at the half, I remember being able to tell like how much my mindset had changed from then, because I remember being really tempted a lot of the time. Like I would look at people beside me and I'd be like, I should be able to run faster than them. Like I can't, like really like harshly judging people around me because I'm feeling whatever type of way. And then I just remember thinking like, you know what? Like, hey, it's not about them. Like they are just doing their best, and like you can go as fast as you can go. And this is the product of how much you either trained or didn't train. And if you just finish this race, like that will be really cool. So like just keep going. I just felt like that was a very obvious sign to me that like my mentality is changing. And like you said, like just like the consistency of trying to keep what you've got growing, like keep it alive and keep it like sustained.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's pretty true. Like those experiences are pretty crucial in like watering what you have growing. And it like it seems inconsequential, but it's like what actually like all matters.
Because I think realistically you can't produce anything worth producing without stepping out and just doing it badly first.
Right.
Like running a slow, I'm putting air quotes because I'm sure it was not actually that slow, but like a less than optimal half marathon.
Right.
Is one still a half marathon?
And like in whose eyes?
But also
though?
like when are you gonna run a fast half marathon? Like after never having run a half marathon? Like, like after having not learned how you need to train, and next time you'll know how to train better.
Right.
And
it is kind of this weird like pride, like again, like this kind of pick me girl of like, I'm just gonna go out there and I'm gonna like nail everything I do the first time I do it. And it's like,
for me it's like then I just have not done anything my whole life out of fear and pride of like, well, I don't want to look stupid. I don't want to, because this is a whole other separate tangent that we won't go into, but I have been dissecting and unpacking a lot of my personal just like feeling like I don't belong in any given room, because a lot of that is tied to my body. Of I've always been really tall, I've always been larger and carried more body fat, and I've always felt misplaced. I've always felt gigantic, and like I didn't fit with any of the girls in my class or any of the girls that I knew. And I think that like outside of just that physical misplacement, I also was like, well, I don't want to do anything else to make myself look stupid. So like if I'm the tall fat girl who also is really bad at singing, or the tall fat girl who tries to play volleyball and sucks at it, like that would just be too much for me to bear. Like genuinely. Aww. And I think we all have like whether or not you're tall or skinny or fat or whatever, I think we all have those inhibitions that are like, I can't do this because it'll make me look stupid for whatever reason. Yeah. And I think a lot of like, I just realized that I think a lot of it stemmed from that, of like body insecurity translating to insecurity and everything else of like, I don't want to stick out for being bad at something. Yeah. And actually, funnily enough, one of those things was always like drawing and painting.
Really?
Is like, I really never I thought I was really bad at it when I tried, and I felt stupid and embarrassed, like if I did it in front, and people would see, and it like looks really bad, and then I'm bad at art and also fat and tall. I didn't actively think that, but I'm as an adult looking back at why those things were connected in my mind.
Yeah.
But I remember carrying a sketchbook with me when I was like a young kid, and I was like, I really want to draw. And then I stopped doing it because I was embarrassed that my drawings were so bad, and I didn't ever do it again. And now I've started painting just a teeny tiny bit.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy it. And I have like stopped not doing it just because I was afraid of being bad at it.
Yeah.
And I actually like am not unhappy with the way that they look. Like, I just thought, like, that was the other thing. It's like sometimes you make something and you just hate it and you're like, why does this exist?
Sure. Yeah.
But like, I just assumed anything I made I would hate.
Okay.
And now I'm like making stuff and I'm like, oh, like, I like this. Like, I don't mind whatever it is because I like this. And
we should post
pictures of my paintings.
We should, because I'm
I did the reason this is
telling you, the way she shaded these grapes is life changing. It's so crazy.
The reason I'm talking about it, and you're not in the room with us, but I'm gesturing to my tiny little paintings because I just did a paint night last night with some friends, and it honestly was like a nice little like emotional gold star for me in my brain, and not in a I feel like people talk about gold stars as like a negative thing, but like of just like, I was like, man, I want to paint like a plate with food on it, and I'm like, but how would I ever, like, I can't draw a pear. I've never drawn a pear in my how am I gonna draw a pear? Like,
right?
Like a panic ensuing in my brain of like, that's gonna look so stupid, and it's gonna be like, you tried to draw a pear, like that doesn't even look like a pear. Aww. Or a piece of cheese or whatever,
right?
But and so it's that fear of like, well, I'm just not even gonna do it because what if people can't tell that it's a pear,
right?
Or whatever is freaking, it doesn't matter. But then I started doing it, and I'm like, you can totally tell it's a pear.
Yeah, you seriously can tell that's a pear.
And again, it doesn't matter if you could or not.
You can tell it's a pear. You can tell there are blueberries. You can definitely tell they're grapes. So that's all I'm saying.
No, but just like, and again, it doesn't even matter if that were the case or not. If you're just like, I enjoy painting, like that's the win. Right. But like, just to even find myself being able to accomplish the thing that I was like, I can't do that. Like, right. I literally was like, how do I even, like, all I have is bright orange and whatever. How am I going to draw cheese that looks like real cheese? Like, I can't do that. Sorry.
Oh, my.
I'm so sorry. and you just, like, can do it. I feel like we probably have done this exact same episode of podcast before now that I feel like the theme in my life is just overcoming that childhood need to just be good immediately and not need to, like,
it might be this like similar content, but I definitely feel like we're approaching it from a different angle.
Yeah.
So
anyway, that's just, I feel like hopefully that all ties in and makes sense to someone just listening to this, because it makes sense in my brain. But just like, I don't want to say wasted, because I don't think anything is wasted, but I have spent a lot of my life not doing things because I was afraid of being bad at them.
That's really interesting, because I think that I have not done a lot of things because I was scared of not being the best at them. Like, not even like, not just like, oh, I'm not going to be good at this. Like, I'm just not going to be the best at it. So I just shouldn't even try.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting?
That is so crazy.
Yeah. But if anybody's out there listening, I just want to encourage you to just do stuff. And also, alongside with that, hand in hand, because I think that mentality also produces a lot of judgment of other people.
Yes.
Just based on my knowledge of myself and of you.
Yes.
Of when you're so hypercritical of yourself, I think it tends to like go out to other people as well, which is never a good thing, because then it also just feeds that idea in your brain that other people are judging you, because you're like, well, I know I'm judging other people, so I'm afraid other people are judging me. So let's be kinder to ourselves, but also like be kinder to other people. Seriously. And people who are out there doing things, and maybe they look stupid doing them, or they're not very good at them, but like, let's cheer those people on. Yeah. And let's support people who are doing things that they want to be doing, because it's hard out here. Yeah. It's hard out here in these streets.
It really is.
And like, it's so much more worthwhile to
And
put something out there than to just live your whole life being sort of cool and in the background, and nobody can laugh at you, but nobody can support you or engage with you either.
Gosh, seriously. And it's like, I was thinking when we were at Disney, how, you know, that quote where it's like, and it all started with a mouse.
Yes.
But I was actually literally thinking about that. Like, this empire literally began because this guy drew this character like on a napkin and like did something with it. And it's like, not everyone has the luxury to just like so wholeheartedly believe in everything that they're doing like that. So it's like, if they don't have people encouraging them, then like there could be like, you know, Disney mice all over the world that are just dying because no one is
literal little tiny mice that are well, even I'm just gonna repent of something right now. I know that's a very charged word.
Please do.
Well, just before we got on the podcast, I was talking about a person that I know who is on Instagram and is very vocal about their new very vocal about a new endeavor in their life that they are accomplishing, and they are very like charismatic about it and very much acting like everyone in the world should care about this thing that I'm doing, you know?
Yeah.
And I was kind of looking at Chris and I was kind of like, oh my gosh, like, isn't this so funny? Because it's like on Instagram, it's just very like
loud.
Yeah. She's doing something new in her life and she's excited about it, and she wants to share with other people about how to also do this thing.
Yeah.
And again, I don't think you have to 100% to support someone. I don't think you have to be like, everything you're doing is great.
Amazing. Yeah.
And I don't find it cringy at all.
Right.
But it's like, as I was saying that thing about let's be less judgmental of other people, that's the person who is popping in my head of like, well, like, here's someone who is trying to make a change in their life and do something brave and do something different. And I'm like, well, doesn't she worry about what other people are going to think of her? And it's like, maybe that's not even the point. Because, like, there's always those inspirational tales of, like, Walt Disney and other company owners. It's like, and everyone thought they were crazy. But then look at them now. And it's like, yeah, like, oh, yeah, when you put yourself out there, some people are going to think you're crazy.
Right.
And I can speak from experience because I know myself. The people who think you're crazy are so caught up in their own self-obsession about what they feel ashamed of and feel like they can't do that, they are judging. They are. So like, let's all work on that because the reason we judge is because we're holding ourselves back,
right?
Because you might be the next Walt Disney. Someone else like, this dude is really obsessed with this mouse he keeps drawing. That's gonna go somewhere real fast. And then
what
it's like,
an idiot.
Fun fact, did you know Mickey Mouse was actually not Walt Disney's first character?
What? What was it? Steamboat Willie?
No.
Who was it?
Oswald the Lucky Rabbit.
That's right.
Also, Mickey Mouse was not initially named Mickey Mouse. Do you know what he was named?
Martin Mouse.
Close.
Really? Murphy Mouse?
No.
Mousy Mouse.
Mousy Mouse.
Mousy Mouse.
Mortimer Mouse.
Ugh. Mickey was a good call.
And also the renderings, like the animations of Mortimer Mouse is like very scary.
Really?
Yeah.
He does sound scary. They should make a movie now though where they bring back Mortimer Mouse as this like misunderstood villain thing, you know?
Of Mickey Mouse,
and then just bring him into the zeitgeist.
Yeah. Do you want to? I thought of one little tidbit, and you can't go off on a tangent about this. You have to just say
I won't.
You have to say the answer.
Okay.
So, end of 2024, beginning of 2025. Okay. Everybody's talking about it. Spotify Wrapped. What was your number one song of the year?
I have to actually go look.
I had the idea of like we should guess each other's, but I have no clue what yours would be. Like, I genuinely have no idea what you listened to. Like, I saw you posted when yours came out that you were like, oh, this band is really important to me. And I'm like, I've never heard of that band before. And you were like, they've gotten me through so much.
It was Ethan. Ethan Raft from Lizzie McGuire. No.
Oh.
No, it was Ethan.
With the hat?
Davis. Ethan C. Davis.
With the hat. He always wore a hat.
We don't know him.
Oh.
Not Ethan that we went to school with.
Okay.
No. He doesn't make music yet.
Okay.
Or I don't know. No, it was that guy that I listened to a ton at the beginning, like this time last year.
Yes.
And he had that weird spinoff where his name was like Jambalaya or something.
Yes.
You remember
I
that?
do remember listening to that
So
with you.
he was like one of my top artists. And genuinely though, he really did get me through like a really rough time. Well, it's one of his songs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, called Always.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'll have to give that a spin.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to try to guess mine? Because I feel like you have a better chance of guessing mine.
I probably do. Taylor Swift.
Mm-hmm. Always.
Down Bad.
No. Surprisingly not.
Really? Okay.
That's a really good guess, though.
Okay.
I feel seen.
Yes, good. Okay. From Tortured Poets?
It is. It is from Tortured Poets.
Down Bad is the one with the alien, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That I
so
do
it's
love.
not that one, though.
Yeah. I feel like that one was the one I more openly loved. This is more of like
Okay.
a deep cut. Man. You might not know it.
I may not know the album. Is it from the first album or the second one?
From the first one.
Okay, it's from the first one. That might have a shot.
Do you want to look at the track list?
No, down back, crying at the gym.
Crying at the gym.
Guilty as Sin.
Yeah. How did you get that as soon as you saw
Honestly, I don't even. Oh, I'm glad I didn't see the Black Dog because I remember you saying you like that
I
one.
do love the Black Dog.
But Guilty as Sin. I think I remember you saying something about it and being like, I don't know, I just really like it or something.
Guilty as Sin was my top song of the year.
Wow.
Yep.
That's awesome.
By Miss Taylor Swift.
Miss Taylor Swift.
Not a surprise. Those of us who grew up in purity culture can relate very heavily to the song. Without ever touching his skin.
Oh my gosh.
Can I be guilty as sin?
Well, I mean, if we were going to quote scripture.
Down Bad is my third most played song of the year, so.
I heard it. We were watching Goosebumps. The new Goosebumps season came out on Hulu and Disney Plus.
Is it on there?
It is on there. Down Bad is playing in one of the scenes, and I always forget about it, and then when I hear it, I'm like, ooh, that's
like one of my top
catchy.
songs. Yeah.
But
anyway.
then what happens when I normally hear it is then I'm singing it for the next 5 days in a row, but only the part where it's like, down bad, I'm in the gym, everything comes out teenage petulance, chuck it if I can. Then that's what I'm saying. Then it's just that over and over again.
Chris sings chuck it.
I do, because I don't curse.
I don't curse.
I don't curse.
Anyway, that's been this week's Good Soup.
Yeah. Well, next week we'll have to do Soup of the Day. We'll have to bring that back.
Yeah, we're going to skip that today. We're going to leave y'all with the mystery.
Yeah. Mystery soup.
Write in and tell us what soup we sounded like.
Ooh.
What was the vibe of the soup?
What soup vibes were you guys feeling this week?
Anyway.
Bye.
Bye.